ties for everybody. Malcolm Jenkins will be back for at least another 4 to 5 years, signing a 4-year, $35 million extension, $21 million guaranteed. It's going to be a jam-packed show today. We got Malcolm Jenkins talk, we got D'Amico Ryans, we got Evan Mathis comments, and there's a combine coming up where a bunch of people get infatuated about grown men wearing tights on a football field. Mike Owens, Jeremy Burton are both here. I'm Adrian Fedque. How you guys doing? I'm pretty pumped.
Hey, we got a crazy storm that's rolling through the area here in Philadelphia right now. We got some tornado warnings, but, we're here to talk about football today, and we've got first, the move of the day with D'Amico Ryans. He gets an axe, saves us, $3.5 million in cap space, and the other day we signed Jenkins. So, good times all around so far, and Eagles making the right moves, locking up their own guys, and cutting guys that are getting older.
Yeah, I love how football is just like a year-round discussion. There's something every month to talk about. There's always stuff going on here at the Bitter Birds. So we're back. I'm still sulking over the loss from Temple. That was a big game in Tulsa, and we didn't do anything at all. We got smoked. But big news of the day. We kind of saw the Mufasa to Simba transition happening. So D'Amico's gone, save the money, and on to Jordan Hicks next. NFL Draft Combine this weekend, and Malcolm Jenkins is the man. I love bow ties.
Bow ties are great. You want to talk about Studley, picking up women, smoke bombs, wear a bow tie, works every time. I had a great weekend. I saw my college roommate. Haven't seen him in a couple of years. Charlie Noble, I said I'd give him a shout-out for the show today. So, it's crazy, man. He's I forget the title he has, but he's like a national teams coordinator for U.S. Soccer. He scouts around the country trying to find the best young soccer players, around, and he recruits them for the national team, the under-23 team. So, really cool seeing him. We hit up Temple, all the bars. We did a nice little bar crawl. Maxie's went to the draft tours. They got a new bar called Masters. And true story, this actually happened. This was really funny. When we walked out of Masters, there was this smoke bomb that turned around, and she was wondering why the two hottest guys at the bar were leaving. And it made me feel great inside. Man, I'm still hot enough to pick up college chicks. Bada bing, bada boom, the two hottest studs in the room. Ha!
Did you go back in after?
No, we did not. Charlie was tired, so we left. Yeah, Charlie flew back from England that day, so it was like he was working on England time. He was really tired, so we had to leave. But hey, I'm a stud muffin. That's what I found out.
Well, that was common knowledge.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Bow ties for everybody.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of bow ties that go around, and as we talk about Jenkins here, we remember a few years ago when the Eagles were making a decision on a new safety, and it was really between Jenkins, but the big name out there was Jarius Byrd. Everybody wanted Jarius Byrd. But the Eagles decided not to go that route, and they went with Jenkins, which was kind of an underrated move at the time. And a lot of people were not happy with the move because, Jenkins was not the top safety out there. But, I went back, I compared the stats between Jenkins and Byrd, and it's quite the difference here. So over the past 2 seasons, Jenkins has 189 tackles and 5 interceptions, and Byrd has 75 tackles and only 1 interception. So you can see the difference there. The Eagles made the right move.
I love Malcolm Jenkins. He's the best safety we've had since Dawkins. I mean, we've had our spouts of Nate Allen and Kirk Coleman and all these guys. No one has really filled in that safety spot, and he has the leadership. I mean, nobody's going to come to Weapon X territory, but Wolverine claws aren't coming out of Jenkins' hands. But he's got that bow tie, and he can sure tackle and do it all. He's a do-it-all safety, and he's a great leader. So. Yeah, that was a very important signing, and he's the best safety I've seen in Eagles uniform since the Brian Dawkins era.
Yeah, and dude, I just love his swag that he has. I mean, that lovely, luscious cheek fur that he possesses is awesome, and he has the glasses and the bow tie, so much swag, and yeah, that's the other thing is he is a leader in the locker room. He's we're starting to get guys that have played for the team for a couple of years now, so we're starting to establish some leadership, something that we didn't really have once Dawkins left. So we're starting to get some guys that are becoming leaders in the locker room, and we're really starting to build that culture up again. So that's that. And that brings me to this point. Jairus Byrd was the big hot name that everybody wanted to sign, but it goes to show you that in free agency, sometimes taking the big, sexy name isn't exactly the best route every time, especially when the guy gets hurt and he starts getting a little bit more injury prone. Then all of a sudden, all that money you spent on him is going to waste. So they went and they drafted Jenkins, and I remember he was coming off a bad year, really bad year, and he came in here and he killed it. So he's been great, and foundation of this team right now.
Yeah, this is one of the moves where you really have to give the Eagles credit because they could have easily went with the popular pick and decided to go with Byrd. And, well, Jairus Byrd ended up signing with the Saints to a pretty outrageous deal. I believe he's making somewhere close to $50 million, right?
I could look it up right now. So
yeah, so he's
I will look it up.
He signed a pretty big contract there with the Saints, and so Adrian's going to find the exact money. But yeah, the Eagles did the right thing by all along the Eagles said in that process with Jenkins that they wanted to find a guy that fit their system, and well, obviously Jenkins has fit the Eagles system perfectly. So got to give the Eagles credit there for making the right move, and they were able to sign Jenkins for. A cheaper amount than they would have had to with Byrd.
Now, you're going to give Howie some credit for initially bringing him in because I think he was the GM in 2013 when Chip Kelly's.
Chip, I'm sorry, that is all Chip. That is Howie is all about signing the big names. Chip is about kind of doing that sort of thing. So fuck Howie.
Yeah, but he was the GM at that point. But they were working together. They worked.
Yes, but he's not smart enough to find a guy.
Okay. I hear. Yeah, totally. I'm not disagreeing with you. But it's funny with Jenkins. He made comments last year about the defense and getting in the coaching rooms and stuff, and not the safeties can't coach with like the linebackers, and he suggested the defense should be coached together, and that's just more of moving on to a newer, better culture that Chip didn't believe in on the defensive side. Different positions coaching together, and with all different position coaches. So that's just part of more of Jenkins' leadership ability. He his say matters, and that's going to be important for our defense going forward.
Yeah, I've got the contract details, and well, the Eagles got away with robbery here. All right, so here's what Byrd got. Byrd got a 6-year, $54 million contract, $26.3 million guaranteed, and Jenkins' initial contract, 3 years, $16.25 million, $8.5 million guaranteed. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Eagles. That was a first-round knockout with that deal.
Hit it out of the ballpark. Grand slam.
Grand slam for Howie.
Howie and Chip.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Well, going back to this Chip Kelly thing, the thing that's really weird about the whole situation is that Chip Kelly actually built a pretty nice defense while he was here, as far as the players go on the defensive side of the ball. He made some really nice moves. And then on the offensive side of the ball, he was supposed to be this offensive mastermind, and he kind of shorthanded himself on the offensive side of the football by getting rid of guys, not having much depth at key positions, especially along the offensive line. But as far as the defense goes, we're talking about a guy like Jenkins, and then you look at some of the guys that they've recently drafted. You look at Eric Rowe, who hopefully is going to be, a stud cornerback here for many years. And now you hopefully have the leader in the middle of your defense in Jordan Hicks. So, that's something that kind of gets overlooked with Chip Kelly, is that he actually has built quite the defense here, but offensive side of the ball is where he kind of faltered.
Yeah, well, he was naive to think that his offense, no matter who was playing each position, could succeed, and obviously he was wrong. But yeah, you can't overlook those. The Jordan Hicks move coming in, and he obviously had his hands in Jenkins and all these pieces. I'm still not completely sold on Maxwell though. He's got to step it up. He's got to have a better year for me. I don't like guys getting piggyback rides. I mean, come on.
I love piggyback rides. They're fun. They're really fun. Just jump on his back and get a little ride for 10 yards. It's great. It's awesome. That's just so funny though. Like all the big moves that he made just went to shit, and that's what everybody wants to pay attention to. But a lot of the under the radar moves were the ones that really panned out. Walter Thurmond. Obviously Jenkins. Well, it was Howie's move, but fuck that. No credit from me. So you got those two, Jordan Hicks, Eric Rowe, filling up quite a defense. Just unfortunate they didn't have a defensive coordinator that was savvy enough to utilize those pieces correctly. So fuck you, Billy Davis. You're a piece of shit too. But now we got Jim Schwartz in here, and I am just so confident that he's going to be able to turn this defense around. And well, now we got Doug leading the offense. We'll see if he can get things ratcheted up there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here with the future offensive side of the ball. I mean, obviously the big question mark will be the quarterback position.
Yep.
We're hearing, speaking of the quarterback position, we're kind of coming to the realization that Bradford's market might be going a little drier than him and Condon, his agent, once thought. Who knows? Maybe it's realistic we get him in here for like $15 million a year for 2-3 years max, and I would do it in that case, but I just don't think he's worth more than that. And then you got the whole draft coming up. I mean, who knows what we're going to do? Ideally, we'd like to move back from 13 and maybe get an early 20s pick or late teens pick and gain a second round pick for that.
Yeah, we'll get into draft talk a little bit later in the show, but we will. I guess we'll keep this discussion going with Bradford. I am all about bringing him back for a year or two. I love that. See, my thing is always he hasn't proven enough to me to be a 4 to 5 year contract extension. I wouldn't be confident in that at all. But if you want to bring him back for a year, for 2 years, for $15 million, fuck yeah. Especially with the quarterback class that this year, it's not that great. I'm not comfortable really with any of these guys, being a franchise type of quarterback. So you can kind of delay that and having to draft a quarterback. I would love that. So, I need to see more from Bradford. I need to see that he can stay on the field. There's a lot of things that I need to see that I haven't seen yet. Just because he had he was good for the last 7 games, that's not enough for me. So I need to see more, and bringing him back for a year or two, fuck yeah.
Yeah, Bradford, the reason why this is such a tough situation with him is because he's not a bad quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. He's, kind of right in the middle there. So it's like, what do you do with them? And, like you were saying, really the ideal situation with the Eagles would be if they could really get him for a 2 or 3 year deal. And then that's when you can kind of draft the guy and you kind of develop that guy. The old NFL days, that's what it used to be like. You used to be able to draft a guy and develop him for a few years. And if you can do that, you look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He was able to develop under Brett Favre. So, and look how that turned out. So that's really what you ideally like to do. If they can get Bradford for like $15 million a year, that would definitely be ideal. Hopefully Bradford isn't talking about anything outrageous, because if they start talking about $20 million, then you're talking about way too much money for Bradford.
Yeah, that's way, way, way too much. That's way out of the price range.
How do you get how do teams like the Colts and the Packers get so lucky to have Favre, a Hall of Fame quarterback? Oh, I have Favre. Oh, you know what? We steal Rodgers at 20-something. Just let him learn for 3 years. He's an instant Pro Bowler, one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Indianapolis, the Colts decided Peyton Manning to get his neck surgery right when Andrew Luck's coming out, one of the best quarterback prospects probably since Peyton Manning. And it's just ridiculous. So unfortunately, we don't have that situation here in Philadelphia. But Bradford is a guy for absolutely on the cheap for a year or two. It would probably be like 2 years most likely. I'm all for it. I mean, we can win with him in this division. This division is not that great. 9-10 wins again gets you the division.
Yeah, that depends on what Dallas does. We don't. They're kind of like a wild card in this whole thing. But the 9-10 wins can definitely win you this division. All right, so we kind of strayed away from the safety topic because I wanted to talk about Walter Thurmond and other possibilities. Now, we'll start with Thurmond, and we're going to explain why he's not really a fit for this defense, because I'm seeing a lot of people, they want to re-sign him. I don't know if it's necessarily a great idea to do so.
Yeah, the reason that they really, like Thurmond in his move to the safety spot this past year was because of his coverage ability, and he's had experience playing in the slot, so that's one of the reasons that they really liked him, and he did a nice job because he can cover. But with the Jim Schwartz style of defense, they really need to have it in the box, attacking type of safety, a guy that can make tackles at the line against the run. So that's why with Thurmond, I'm not sure if he necessarily fits that. But really the thing with Thurmond, it's going to come down to the price and what he is asking for, and what he could possibly get on the open market, because I would be weary about giving Thurmond a big deal, because I don't really think that he's not, he did a nice job transferring the safety this past year, but that's not really his natural position. So I think that you would ideally like to get a veteran guy maybe in free agency, and then you try to get a guy in the draft that you can groom.
Yeah, definitely agree with Mike's outlook there. Thurmond, it depends on. He thinks he had a great year, and he thinks he's going to demand a lot of money. At least that's what he kind of hinted at. He hinted at like the Eagles. They only have X amount of dollars in cap space, and I want this amount of money, and just economically it doesn't work out. So you kind of had the feeling Thurmond was going to move on. He had a better first half of the year than the second half of the year, I thought, and he did a good job in the transition, but Jim Schwartz, he uses that beautiful word, attacking defense. You want a bigger safety that will be more versatile, be able to stack the box and play against the run, like Jenkins moves around all over the place. I don't think Thurmond's coming back, and it would also be nice to dream about the possibility of signing Eric Berry, next to Malcolm Jenkins.
That would be unbelievable. I just don't know we have the money for it, but that would be, wow. You want to talk about, okay, I'm going to keep it PG. I'm not going to get into it. All right. I would be very excited. I'll just keep it at that. Okay, so the reason why Thurmond's not really a fit per se is Schwartz really likes his safeties to kind of set the edge, play the run kind of thing. It's not like Billy Davis's scheme, which you want your safeties to be able to play the slot, more coverage-based sort of scheme. Obviously, Thurman's a former cornerback, so that fits him ideally. But in this scheme, I don't know if he's necessarily a fit. He was a better tackler than I thought he'd be, but I don't think he's a good enough tackler to be in this scheme, at least not to pay a lot of money for him. So I would not want him back in terms of – it depends on the money, but I probably wouldn't want him back. I'd rather go get somebody else. And this is where we're going to transition to some possible safety options. You can do draft. You can do free agency. What would you guys do? Who's the guy you would want?
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, I think, like I was saying, they've got to go with a veteran guy for kind of a stopgap here as they draft someone, too. I mean, the veteran guy that I like, even though he's up there in age, he's like 31 now, is Eric Weddle, of the Chargers. I mean, I just love the guy, the way he plays, and I think that obviously he's a very athletic guy. He's also a good, leader for the locker room. So he's a guy that I don't think would really demand that much money since he's getting up there in age. So he's a guy that I would pick if I could find a guy for kind of a stopgap type of thing.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing any names that pop off really besides Eric Berry and Eric Weddle. Besides maybe William Moore, he was all right. Yeah, besides that, I would completely agree with Mike. Eric Weddle is a scrappy kind of safety. I mean, I think he would fit the scheme very well, and maybe use a mid-round pick as well to get behind to get some depth at that position.
I would try to go a little cheaper. Weddle, I don't know what kind of money Weddle might demand. I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, obviously he would be a better fit than the names that I'm going to name, but so some cheaper guys like George Iloka, Robert Blanton, kid from Detroit, Isa Abdul-Qaddus is okay, and then you can like draft a guy in the second, third, fourth round, whatever. Well, we'd have to get a second round pick, but because there's a kid I really like out of Duke. His name is Jeremy Cash. This guy can really play the edge, so really good in the run game. I don't know if we're going to be able to get him because we don't have a second-round pick, but there's some safeties in this draft that can play the run, and obviously it'd be a lot cheaper if you get a safety then. So that's kind of where I would go. I would try to sign a guy on the cheap, just like we did with Jenkins a couple years ago, and that's the route I think would be best.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys that we're talking about, you mentioned that Jeremy Cash, the safety from Duke, you brought his name up to me, and I checked him out, and I agree with you. I mean, this guy, you just watch the highlights of this guy, and this guy is a sure tackler. He's fast, too. And with this, other safety position next to Jenkins, that's what the Eagles really need. They need a really fast, athletic guy that can come up and play in the box. So, yeah, really what we're looking at is, we're trying to get a cheap veteran option for the time being while we draft someone. And the good thing about this draft is there's plenty of options for the defense. A great draft for the defense, especially defensive backs.
Hey, as long as we don't bring back, I saw on the list of free agents, there's someone named Jaquan Jarrett as a free agent safety, former Temple Owl, and highly praised by Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman highly praised him when he was drafted, along with Danny Watkins that year. Oh yeah, fuck Howie. Let's get a fuck Howie in there.
Fuck Howie, he's a piece of shit.
But no, I definitely like the young safety route, taking someone like Johnny Cash. I mean, I definitely have Jeremy Cash. Sorry, my own name and I got it wrong. Johnny Cash. But if you get someone on the cheap, like I said, Eric Weddle might command too much money. I definitely think that's a good way to go.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so yeah, that's the way I would go. I'm just like trying to think of other possibilities, but
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I mean, as far as the draft go, if you want to look at some guys here and possibly you're looking at, say a third or fourth round pick, there's guys like Jalen Mills that are gonna, Mills from LSU, he's gonna be in the discussion. Miles Kilbrew from, Southern Utah, he's gonna be in there. You got Von Bell from Ohio State. So you're going to be looking at guys like that the Eagles could possibly get in a third or fourth round selection.
There's also a couple guys that are projected to go in like the top 10, and I mean, who knows if one can drop? I mean, that would be awesome. There's a guy on Jalen Ramsey's way too good.
No, he's not falling. That's not.
Yeah, so I guess that's out of the question, but
yeah, going back to Jarrett for a second, Jaquan Jarrett. I remember watching him at Temple, and I was like, oh man, he's such a great hitter and all this stuff. I'm like, maybe he'll be drafted, 6th, 7th round, and then we take him like just preposterously in the 2nd round of the draft. I'm like, dear mother of God, like why? And of course he was terrible. Yeah. I will say this, he wasn't that bad when he was with the Jets, and he is more of like a run stuffer. So who knows how we might bring him back?
You can get him on the cheap. I think I saw his last salary was only $1.5 million.
Yeah, that's about what it'd be. So. Hey, anytime I can get a Temple name on this show, I am going to say it. So, Jaquan Jarrett, to you, baby.
Yeah, we need it after that game against Tulsa, man. That was a disgrace. It was worse than the Nova game. We're going to have to win our tournament, dude. That's not going to happen.
I'll say, well, just really quickly touching on that. I don't necessarily think we have to win the tournament, but if we want to avoid Dayton and the play-in shit, we're going to have to win the tournament. Because I think they're going to have... They've put themselves in a position where they might be okay, because the bubble this year is so bad. It's terrible. I mean, some of these teams... LSU is backing their way out of the tournament. And the thing this year is, a lot of the mid-major conferences, like the Mountain West, aren't really that great this year. You're only going to have a one bid in there. Missouri Valley Conference is a one-bid league. The Atlantic 10 is still pretty good, but a lot of the mid-major conferences that are normally good aren't that great this year, so that means we're going to have more major teams on the bubble. Even the West Coast Conference, it's going to be a one-bid league, most likely. Gonzaga right now is not a tournament team, so Temple might be okay. They might just be okay. They might be able to sneak in, play in Dayton. There's no way they're winning that conference tournament. I don't think Temple's that good.
No.
So there we go. All right, that's the only talk of the day. I know people are here to listen to us talk about the Eagles. So we'll move on to D'Amico Ryans. Got to touch on him real quick. I mean, obviously, the cut was expected. Saves $3.5 million in cap space. But, I mean, what can you say? Obviously, respect the hell out of him. Appreciate everything he did for Philadelphia, all the contributions he made. He was a hell of a player while he was here. Mufasa will be missed.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. Definitely going to miss Mufasa. It's a sad day because we knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when. But, D'Amico Ryans, he did everything that we asked of him to do in Philadelphia, and he was a great leader in the locker room and on the field, calling the plays on the defensive side of the ball. So it's a shame to see him go, but we had to do it for cap reasons and also because of his age, his injury past, and with the addition of Jordan Hicks now and the way that Hicks really came on last season as a rookie and played like a veteran, it was obvious that the Eagles had to move on from D'Amico.
Yeah, I mean, D'Amico was just going to be making too much money to be a pretty much backup or just a rotational guy. He wasn't playing that much last year. He's only had 94 tackles in the past 2 years combined. His age is catching up, and he had 2 Achilles surgeries. Love the guy. He was everything you asked for in a middle linebacker. here in his time in Philly, and I thought it was a great move when we brought him in, and he's made a lot of big plays. But his time has expired, and Mufasa is passing the torch on to Simba, who is Jordan Hicks, and he's been, he looked like a veteran. He was calling plays. He was the, he had the mic. He was mic'd with the defensive coaches calling the plays on the defense as a rookie, only a few games in. It was really impressive. So I'm excited. I just hope he stays healthy. Jordan Hicks went out last year with a season-ending injury, and that was devastating. Turning point of the season, a lot of people can say last year for our defense. So yeah, I mean, obviously you got to love D'Amico, but it was that time.
Yeah, he's going to be 32 years old when the season starts, and I mean the two Achilles injuries. Obviously, he just wasn't very good last year. Wasn't very good at all. Definitely lost not only one step but like 3 steps. Very, very slow. Just not the same D'Amico Ryans I remember. Really, 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 really struggled in coverage. Was fucking terrible. Like, just awful in coverage. So, the cut was expected. It's sad to see him leave, but hey, the future is bright. And I brought this up last week. I don't think we should call Jordan Hicks Simba. It's either going to be Pork Chop or Skeeter, because Doug Peterson is our new coach. It's a new era. I like Pork Chop. I'll go with Pork Chop.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be one of those. Whenever I think of Doug Peterson, I think of Doug Funny and that show. So, just brings back memories from Nickelodeon.
Childhood, baby. And then you got Legends at Hidden Temple.
I was deprived of Nickelodeon as a kid because we didn't have cable until I moved up to the suburbs. So before I was like, I moved up here when I was 10 or 11, so I didn't get to see it until then.
That's a shame, man. See, I told you guys before, I'm not really much of a TV watcher in terms of shows, but those were two I definitely watched. Doug and Legends of the Hidden Temple, and what was the other? Rugrats was the other one I really liked. So, those 3. And It's All, what was that? It's All That. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And you got Keenan and Kel. Oh, bringing back memories, man. Awesome stuff. Yeah, so let's move on to some combine talk, because people are so infatuated with this combine that takes place in Indianapolis every year, watching grown men in tights run a bunch of drills on a football field. So I'll just pose the question out to you guys. What's your favorite drill that these guys run?
Man, favorite drill. I don't know if I don't know what the names are of these drills really, since they're kind of outrageous. But really, when I watch the combine, obviously everyone wants to check out the quarterback. So that's really the biggest thing for me. I like to check out the quarterbacks, and especially a draft like this, where you got the names like Carson Wentz and Jared Goff and Paxton Lynch. Those are the guys that I really want to watch and see how they do at the combine. And I want to see who the Eagles are watching.
Well, being a lifter, back in college, there's gotta be, I have muscles on top of muscles. My pecs are pretty good. It's gotta be the bench press and see how many times you can rack that 225, 2 plates on each side. How many times can you just pump that out, man? Oh man, that's hard stuff. I mean, I've never done more than 15, and they do 225, and they do it like 25, 40 times, in how many seconds? Absolute beasts, these men. Oh, they make me look small. So obviously, I can relate to the bench press. How many times they can pump that weight up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the one that everyone likes to talk about is the 40-yard dash, and it will be interesting to see guys like Dak Prescott, in terms of the quarterbacks, Dak Prescott and Paxton Lynch, Carson Wentz. I'm going to assume that Paxton Lynch, out of the quarterbacks, he's going to score the lowest on the Wonderlic test because he's a fucking dumbass. But two drills that I really like. I like the gauntlet. The gauntlet's the one where the receivers go down the line and they catch passes from different angles. And the other one I like is called the speed turn drill. The speed turn is designed for defensive backs. And when I watch defensive backs and I watch these drills, I want to see the fluidity in the hips. So I want to see some wiggles in the hips, and being able to have that smooth turn and having the soft feet on the back pedal. And this is a drill, you start out in the back pedal, you go back 5 to 10 yards, and you take steps forward before pivoting and running in a direction. Whatever the coach signals, that's where you run. So, it's a really good drill to see the hips that I like to see, and judging a cornerback, defensive back, whatever. And this is the drill last year. I remember I watched Ronald Darby, and Ronald Darby's hips were so much smoother than everybody else's, and I fell in love with him. And turns out he was pretty good. Sometimes these drills you can see something, and sometimes you get these workout wonders that don't really translate in the NFL. So you really never know. Although, I'm trying. What's his name? I'm blanking. Who's the guy that did the broad jump? Cowboys safety. Cowboys cornerback. I'm completely blanking right now. Byron Jones. He had a great combine.
Yeah.
Panned out. But a lot of these guys, like we had a combine wonder. Mike Mamola. He didn't do anything.
I had a jersey of his. Did you know that? I was about 9, 10 years old, 11 years old. I had his jersey. Yeah, I did. I don't have it anymore, but I had one.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's the thing with the combine. You really don't know. You can kind of get somewhat of a judge on it, but really, the combine can help out some of these guys who maybe on the fringe in between rounds, and not really sure where they're going to go, if they're going to drop around or go up around. So that's when some of those guys can really make a name for themselves. But yeah, a lot of people get focused on the stats with the combine. How much of this guy bench pressing? How fast are they running the 40-yard dash? All those stats sometimes they can be overrated. So it's really a silly thing that we do. All these grown men running around in tights and a bunch of grown men watching them. So it's a really weird concept. But hey, we tune in, and I'm sure the ratings will be really high on the NFL Network. But this is kind of a year where besides the quarterback position, as Eagles fans, we're not really looking at the sexy picks. I mean, we're going to be checking out the big guys this year along the offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're usually not sexy picks, and they always say they're not sexy, but they're very, very necessary as offensive linemen. So, that's going to be a huge focal point of our draft. I have no doubt about it, and I guarantee you might even draft 3 linemen. I wouldn't put that out of the realm of possibilities. About the workouts and looking at the stats. Everybody looks at the 40-yard dash time, and you want to see what you can't, because you can't teach speed. A player like Deshaun Jackson would be worthless if he didn't have that blazing speed. He came out of the combine with maybe a 4.3 speed or whatever he was. He was really, really fast. And so that's important to see, just if you need a speed guy. Mostly that's for receivers and corners. But, it's an exciting time. We're getting closer to the draft. So, I just can't wait for it. And the workouts, will be fun.
Yeah, and, speaking of linemen, there was a workout wonder last year that went from being like a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick to like a 2nd rounder, and that was Ali Marpet from Hobart. So he had a great workout. Was able to run a sub-5 second 40, I believe that's what it was. So he did really good in the shuttle drill, all this stuff. So, but I wanted to bring up this topic. I'm not really going to get into names to watch for the Combine per se. We'll talk about that more in our next show. We're already 40 minutes in. So we didn't even talk about Evan Mathis yet. So we still got that on the docket. But I wanted to bring this up because I know that we have needs, a tackle, and obviously, well, quarterback, obviously. But if we re-sign Sam Bradford, say we do, here's where I wanted to get to this. All right, so free agency. Free agency is more to fill holes now, right? In the draft, you pretty much kind of want to take the best player available, even though, obviously, we're going to take a lot of tackles. But say in the first round, right? Say like somebody like a Jalen Smith falls or somebody falls to us, and we have that guy very highly ranked on our big board. You take that guy. That's kind of the way it works. Sure, we need a tackle, but say like Sheldon Rankins falls to us. I would take him over Conklin or Taylor Decker because I think if, because you got to look and see in the future, Benny Logan's going to be a free agent. I don't know when. I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't know off the top of my head. But this is something the Rams did a couple years ago. They drafted Aaron Donald, and their defensive line was already sexy. Then they added Aaron Donald, and turns out Aaron Donald's the best of that bunch. So sometimes it kind of works out that way. And, if you draft like a Sheldon Rankins, somebody a defensive tackle like that, because this draft is loaded with defensive tackles. So you'd have a guy that's ready to replace Benny Logan once he hits free agency. So that's just like something I wanted to bring up. You don't necessarily have to draft for need all the time. It's a combination of need and best player available.
Yeah, and going off that, this is a year really as far as the offensive line and the tackle goes. I mean, after your top guys in Tunzel and Stanley, and they're going to go off the board. Most likely in the top 10, they're going to be off the board. So Eagles aren't going to have a shot at that. And then after that, then you start getting into the guys like Jack Conklin and Taylor Decker. And, these are guys that are probably looking are worth probably around a 20th, draft pick, somewhere in that range. So if you're the Eagles, do you really want to reach for an offensive lineman like that? Or like you said, if a top defensive guy is still on the board, do you want to go that route? I mean, they would probably have to go after the top defensive guy because you really, this is a draft where there's so much depth on the defensive side of the ball, especially, defensive end and defensive backs. And then it's also a good draft for linemen. But the thing with the linemen is this is a draft where after your top two guys, it kind of really drops off. So, and then you're going to have a lot of guys that are like really good second and third round guys. So it's going to be interesting to see because the Eagles could be in a situation where they could possibly move back some, gain some of those value points, and if they do that, then they could possibly get into the second round too, and then you could end up with offensive linemen in the first and second round.
Yeah, I mean, draft picks are precious. Obviously, I would definitely like to even move back, 7, 8, 9, 10 spots to get in the early 20s or right around 20. I would think would be solid. Even in the 20s somewhere, if we can get a second-round pick out of that at a decent number, then, I mean, the more picks, the better, and it allows us that flexibility. Obviously, if a guy really stands out there that drops to you, you take the best player available. If they can't find a suitor for a good trade to get a second-round pick and then move back a little bit, Benny Logan's contract is up after next year. He'll be wanting some money after 2016. So, lineman that Adrian was mentioning, or somebody who drops, that could definitely be an option.
Yeah, because I love Sheldon Rankins, the guy from Louisville. This guy's a stud. I mean, he's got power, he's got quickness, he's got it all. He's just watch his Senior Bowl practices in the one-on-one drills. He was incredible. He really was. But So some of these tackles, like Conklin Decker, there's a tackle by the name of Jason Spriggs that I like ahead of these guys. So all these tackles are kind of bunched together. So if you're taking one at 13, you're reaching. So it would be awesome if we can trade back. That'd be great. If they can get like a second-round pick too, that'd be great. There are some guards out there. Cody Whitehair is a name to watch out for. Kansas State. He's a guard/tackle. He can play both positions. But there's a kid out of Stanford that I really like, Joshua Garnett. Big-time run blocker. This guy's a mammoth man. Mammoth. So he's going to be a huge run blocker. He's a guy you can get late first round, second round. So a lot of different ways you can go. But who knows? They might attack free agency and get like Jeff Allen and get a couple guys where all of a sudden taking a tackle in the draft isn't as high as a priority.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And I mean, this is a situation that I've thought of, and this is actually a very tricky situation. So say that the Eagles, they're going to say they signed Bradford to like a 3-year deal. Who knows what the money is, but we'll say they signed to a 3-year deal. And say the Eagles are picking at 13 and Carson Wentz is still on the board. Well, what do? Do you go Wentz or do you go offensive line? Now, that's going to be one hell of a situation that the Eagles will be in if that's what occurs here. And I'm kind of getting the feeling that might be the situation that they end up with because how I'm looking at the draft board right now, there was 2 wild cards for Wentz, and it was going to be the Cowboys or the 49ers. I'm thinking the Cowboys are going defense, and as far as the 49ers go, they could possibly go along the offensive line. They could get a guy like Stanley if he's available at where they're picking. And then with the 49ers, they're talking about that they possibly could keep Kaepernick now, so they might not even be drafting a quarterback. So, yeah, that could be one hell of a predicament that the Eagles get in because if it's 2 years or less with Bradford, I definitely say you go Wentz. But once you start talking about 3-4 years, it's a really tough situation because then you're really, not wasting a first-round pick, but he's going to be sitting around for a while.
That would be quite the pickle, and it would come down to if we have Bradford and Wentz drops to us at 13. It would come down to our head coach. Doug Peterson is the quarterback. Him and Frank Reich. They got that offense, and they both play quarterback in this league. They are our quarterback evaluators for our team. So it all depends on what they think. If they don't think Wentz is worth getting the value at 13, then and Howie's got somebody on the other line. I got an offer. I can get a second-round pick. Let's move back to 22, and you can go that way. It's. Once free agency starts and we get this ball rolling and see what we do, I love it. We're just, so close now. We're about 2 weeks away.
Yeah. And we'll have a combine recap next week. Then we'll have like a free agency preview. So the Bitter Birds are ready to go. We're ready to go. We're gonna talk about all that stuff when it happens. All right. So moving on really quickly to Evan Mathis. Then we'll do final thoughts. Evan Mathis. Basically, once again, I'll let Jeremy explain because Jeremy is so infatuated with Chip Kelly. He loves him. He's their best friends, their best pals. They're so tight.
Well, yeah, I love talking smack on Chip. And Evan Mathis was not shy. He came right out and said that Chip Kelly doesn't have what it takes to build a championship team with his philosophies that he brought to the Eagles. He thought that he had a very just basic offense that just ran so many plays and kept the defense on for so long, and that affected them. The fact that he can't deal with certain personalities. He saw him throw away all these talented players, like to just cut Deshaun outright when he's a playmaker. And Yeah, I loved it. You know, he went on to win a championship with Denver, and he said, you know what, it was like night and day. Chip couldn't have handled, you know, coaching a team like us. Couldn't have handled it. He would have went away and sat in his room and cried to Henry and just talked to his dog because that's his only friend.
It's his only friend. Go ahead, Mike. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, well, you know, the best part about the Mathis story was he sent Chip Kelly a video of Engelbert Humperdinck is this guy's name, and the guy's song, it was called "Please Release Me." So this was actually a true story. Evan Mathis sent this video in a text message to Chip Kelly, and you know, as the name of the song presents itself, Evan Mathis was telling Chip Kelly that it's time for you to let me go, and well, that's what happened. Chip listened. I guess he sat there and watched the video with Henry, and Henry decided that it was time to let Mathis go.
We may have to change Pug Peterson's name to Engelbert. What's it? I forget his name already. Humperdinck? Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yep.
Jesus Christ, that is quite a name right there. That is just great.
That's hilarious.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm a Chip guy, but everything that Evan Mathis said is 100% true. So I'm not going to sit here and try to defend Chip here. There's no question that Chip has to adjust a lot of his tendencies if he wants to be successful in San Francisco. Got to adjust the offense. Got to add a couple more plays. That's definitely true. And you know, he's got to figure things out. He's got to ratchet it up. And you know, we'll see. I mean, I think he's a smart guy. He definitely needs to like go take some lessons in how to be sociable. I don't know. He needs some sort of lessons to help himself be you know, better with people. Because I wonder if, see, I'm curious about this, about his staff that he brought in San Francisco. Another terrible staff. I don't know if it's because he doesn't relate well with people or because he just doesn't have NFL experience and doesn't really know anybody. But that's kind of concerning to me. Billy Davis and now Jim O'Neill? Ew. Terrible.
Way to go, Chip. Asshole.
You gonna get a fuck Chip in there, Jeremy?
Yeah, fuck Chip.
Can we get Chip Kelly on the show real quick?
Yeah. So I have Henry, so he's my only friend. So yeah, when I try and talk to other people, they don't like me. I can't get a coaching staff. So what am I gonna do? So all right, Trent Baalke, where's Henry? So.
Oh man, we gotta get Chip Kelly on the show one of these days. Just a whole press conference. I'll ask him questions. I mean, bring Henry on too.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts. Let's just get really quickly. We're already over 50 minutes in. So let's final thoughts and let's get out of here.
Yeah, so I'll quickly just continue with the Chip Kelly thing. I mean, obviously, like you're saying, Adrian, there's definitely some things that Chip Kelly has to learn here. But like you were talking about, the biggest concern for me is his inability to put together a good coaching staff. And really, as far as him being a coach in the NFL, that could be one of his biggest downfalls if he doesn't succeed in the NFL, is not being able to put together a good coaching staff, but not necessarily the coaching staff. It's more about the defensive coordinator. I've always felt that, Kelly needed a really solid defensive coordinator here in Philadelphia. And, that's why I think that Peterson did a really good job of bringing in Schwartz as a defensive coordinator. Being a first-time head coach, he's handing over the keys to Schwartz to run the defense. And, that's what Kelly needed. Kelly really needed, a really good defensive coordinator. And he just made a really poor decision with bringing in Billy Davis, and he stuck with him for too long. And, Yeah, so that's what really concerns me about Chip Kelly.
Yeah, I'm just so happy Chip's gone. My final thoughts are going to be more with college basketball, and I'm going to watch some Nova and Xavier tonight, and that's going to be a fun game. Even though Nova shattered my heart last week and Tulsa shattered my heart this week, just holding on hope for Temple Miracle. Maybe we'll slide into the big dance, but we got to pretty much just win out and try and get the go as far as we can in the conference tournament. We need a prayer.
Yeah, I think we're in better shape than people think, just because the bubble is so bad. So I think we might be okay. We can't get any more bad losses. Like, we got 3 bad teams we're going to play to close the season. Can't lose any of those games. Can't, because we already have 2 bad losses. So no more. Hopefully, in the conference tournament, I'm hoping you'll win out in the regular season. You get to the conference tournament final at least. And I think that will be enough. I legitimately think that will be enough. I'm going to crunch the numbers, all right? I got another bracketology coming out Friday. I'm going to keep crunching them numbers, and I'm going to keep putting Temple in because I'm biased. So there you go. All right, we're out of here. This is it. Engelbert Humperdinck. That's my last thing I got to say. That's an awesome name. It's great.
Love it.
See you later, guys. Go Birds, baby.
Later.
Peace out.